Hey guys, today let's talk about one of the mind gremlins that comes up over and over for nurses, particularly as they're starting out in business. And not only is it a standalone beast, it also serves as a feeder to an even bigger mind gremlin that has stopped many dead in their tracks. It can even paralyze for massive amounts of time. And in fact, I've even seen it shut down entrepreneurs essentially before they truly gave their business an actual go because they just couldn't shake it. Tragic, really. All that expertise, all that compassion that could be helping others who are currently struggling, but it just never happens because they simply haven't learned to manage the mind gremlins. But let's not dive into capturing the whale today. Let's at least start out with the feeder fish. And that's this grand illusion of confidence. Now, it comes up frequently with entrepreneurs in all industries, and nurses are no different. I might even, argue that it goes a bit deeper with nurses who are up to their neck in mind gremlin waters, in my experience. And here's why. Maybe you were the star employee previously, and so it didn't seem like a big leap to go out on your own in your field of expertise. Yet you likely had no idea when you started out just how much was actually involved in starting and sustaining a successful business. Am I right? You will inevitably, sooner than later, find yourself out of your depth in one area or another that comes along with the entrepreneurial path. And as a nurse, the clinical expertise, that's the easy part, right? And I can quickly dive into flow doing, the part that I'm an expert at, just like you can. When I was starting out, it was the business areas, particularly the marketing, that I found myself nearly out of my depth before I even dipped my toe in the water. So I did what many green small businesses owners do. I avoided it like the plague and spent more than 80% of my time smack in the middle of my comfort zone where I was happy and things were easy, right? Being a practitioner, creating content around my expertise that I then just kind of stockpiled because I didn't have any idea how to market it or let anyone know that I could help them in my area of expertise. I made choices based on my lack of confidence in those uncomfortable areas in my business, which, while they provided many, many lessons, they certainly weren't the best choices for my business in the long run. Now, maybe you can relate. Have you ever told yourself that you could just, if you could just do XYZ, if you were just a little more confident in this area or that area, maybe it's technology for you, maybe it's marketing like me, maybe it's networking. Often in business, we quickly realize how much there is, that we need to learn. And the learning curve is steep, which I'll tackle on another day, right? But here's the catch 22. Confidence comes from competence, and competence comes from repetition. That itself is worth repeating. Confidence comes from competence, and competence comes from repetition. And how do we get repetition? From the doing. There it is, friends. Like, there's the catch. You're never going to gain confidence without the actual doing. You have to actually get out there and do what it is that you do. You aren't going to gain more confidence by sitting behind your computer, taking another course to learn all about XYZ, whatever it is. It's not going to happen. That's theory. It's like reading a book about or taking a course about how to swim because you don't know how and expecting that you'll be setting personal records that rival Olympic medalists without ever getting in the pool. I'm sure you can probably see now, in reality, that's never going to happen. Because confidence comes from the doing. You have to practice. If you're not good at live videos, learning all about how to make live videos in 800 free tutorials or even a paid course won't help you until you actually start making the live videos, right? I know that's not likely not what you want to hear, but I feel pretty compelled to tell you that's the reality of it. So here you go. I'm going to give you the magic formula. Are you ready? You're going to want to write this down, okay? So get a pen. Okay, here's the magic formula to accelerate your confidence, to gaining confidence faster than any one of your competitors. Are you ready? Do, learn, tweak, repeat. I'll say it again because this is really where the magic happens, okay? Do, learn, tweak, repeat. That's it. That's how you gain confidence in what you're doing. In fact, that's how you create a successful business in a nutshell. So there you go. It's a twofer, right? So whatever your field of expertise is, you didn't have that wealth of knowledge that you have now when you first started. Everyone had a day zero starting out where you essentially knew nothing and let the learning begin, right? You became better by doing. It's exactly why new grad nurses are terrified to come to the floor because what they learned in school, in the books, even in clinicals, pales in comparison to being, feeling ready for actually doing the work independently as a nurse. Yet confidence only comes from doing the job. With every patient they take care of, they learn more. And now they tweak their assessments, they tweak their approach. They can tweak their prioritization now that they know, if they now know a red signal for impending trouble that maybe they missed on their very first week or the first day, they won't miss it again. They learned and adapted, and now they're able to work in a better, more effective way, just like you. When you switch to any new nursing specialty, including any nursing business, no matter how many years of experience you have, most nurses find themselves back in the new grad mindset. I'm feeling so overwhelmed. I have so much to learn. I feel like I don't know anything, right? I'm just not confident in what I'm doing. I hope I don't screw up. And then we look for comparison, right? We do this as new grads too. We look at those, senior, more experienced, seasoned nurses, and we're like, man, if I was like that, I wish I was like that, right? So we say, look at so-and-so, and you can insert any nurse that you can put your eyeballs on, whether you scroll through your feed, that's further down the road and what it is that you want to do. Insert their name here. And you are like, look at them. They know what they're doing. I wish I was that good. Ugh, I'm never going to be that good. What if I make a mistake? What if I'm not cut out for this? And the mind gremlins just continue to swell. The reality is every nurse felt exactly like you on getting their first gig, getting their first job, getting their first client, their first contract, their first shift as a new grad nurse. When they started out, right? Everyone felt like that. The difference is simply hours under the belt now. Confidence comes from competence, and competence comes from repetition. That's it. And I can pretty much guarantee you're going to feel more confident going for your 15th contract than you did your first one. Heck, even going for your third contractor project, right? Or client. So imagine yourself back in those terrifying days of being a new grad nurse showing up for shift one. Ooh, it's cringy, right? It makes you wince. Probably on the edge of being terrified, going it alone independently. Imagine if someone had taken you to the side and told you that you will be dramatically more confident just by shift and comfortable just by shift number 15. Wouldn't that have been a huge freaking feeling of relief poured over you? Man, can you imagine if we just told everyone all the nurses going into business, starting out, let's huddle up and we're going to, do some deep breathing exercises. All right, I'm going to grab you by the shoulders and I'm just going to, be straight with you and say, okay, I know this is scary. Maybe on the edge of terrifying, but you can do this. And here's the good news. You'll never have to get over this very first one again. Yay, right? So swallow that feeling that is creeping up in the back of your throat. Feels like you might want to vomit, right? Let's go get this first shift over with. Let's get this first client over with. And you know what? If someone had just told you that when you went into entrepreneurship, that for the first time out of the gate, this first gig, probably even those first few, they're going to feel pretty freaking scary. But from my experience and for most people, most of the nurses that I worked with, when you get to, gig 15 or gig, 9 or contract number 23, whatever it is, that's the tipping point. You'll be way more confident when you get to shift number 15, right? They would likely be incredibly motivated to get to contract or gig or project or client number 15 as soon as possible. Am I right? So run, friends. Get your client, get your contract 15 as fast as humanly possible. Flailing, stumbling, all the way. If that's what it takes, you'll survive. And I promise, just like you did as a new grad. And you will learn an insane amount about what you're doing in the process. So for some of you, That's kind of all you need. It's like you need a permission, right? You just need someone to be straight with you and say, yeah, super scary. I remember that. Don't want to go back there. But listen, it gets better. Go do it anyway because that's the only way it's going to get better. You're going to feel more confident. That might be enough. That might be all you need today. Yet I'm guessing right about now, there's still some of you who might be digging in. Yeah, sure, Jill. Sounds real inspiring. But I've been doing this for months and I still feel like I know nothing. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not getting the traction that I want. I know you're out there. And it's okay. I get it. Because believe me, I wasted a colossal amount of time in the beginning because I was drowning in mind gremlins. And that's exactly why I'm, doing this video today and why I'm so passionate about talking about the mind gremlin stuff. I speak to it, from the knowing. I got stuck in all these places. That's why I can speak to it. I was there, right? That's why I talk to all the nurses, that I work with about this stuff all the time because it will stop you in your tracks. It stops you from making the impact that you are meant to make, the impact that the world needs from you, your work. And so what I found was when I was digging in back in the day, like some of you might be right now, I had to face some hard truths before things would finally shift for me. And likely, if you found yourself digging in just a couple minutes ago, that's a sign. It's a sure tell sign that you probably need to face some hard truths too before things will start to shift for you as well. Because becoming a nursepreneur, or any entrepreneur in any industry for that matter, it is a humbling experience. Would you agree? It feels good being the go-to, being the master, right? Being in flow, being clinically strong, the master of your trade. Quite frankly, our ego enjoys it. Welcome, you walk into the new world of entrepreneurship, man, our ego takes a big fat hit. We find ourselves back at day zero very quickly. And let's be real, that doesn't feel good. In fact, it can feel pretty stinking rotten. I would say flailing rather aimlessly. It's pretty close. Feeling lost. Tons of doubt that you can make this work. Tons of excuses about how you could be successful if you just had a following, if you just had, were better at XYZ, if you just knew this or that. Scrambling for another tutorial to figure something out and then wasting the entire day trying to do it, still failing, get it done, and then telling, yourself that, I'm just not good at that piece. Really just need to invest more time, like another month learning it, and then I can do it. Then I'll be confident enough to go do it. But of course, that's not actually it at all. Because confidence comes from competence, and competence comes from repetition, and you can't rack up the repetitions hiding in your office behind your computer, not telling anyone that you can help them. Or simply posting on social media, 3 times a day or 3 times a week, wondering, why don't I have a line of people beating down my door to work with me? It doesn't work that way, right? So I told myself back then that I wasn't hiding, that I was telling people that I could help them. Yet I wasn't really. I was avoiding it like the plague, right? I was avoiding the areas of business that I felt the least confident in until I didn't. Until I chose to get out of my own freaking way and run towards shift 15. Until I dove in and I recognized that nothing was going to happen until I did. Right? So let me ask you this. How confident are you right now in your business? 50%? 40% confident? 30%? How much more confidence do you think you really need to just lay it out there, just to go for your dreams? Another 11%? Another 26.4%? And how will you know when you get there? How will you know when you get that last percent that will be the tipping point where you can actually go no holds bar with your business? You're probably starting to see the trap. It's an illusion, friends. It's a mind gremlin. You're letting something hold you back from reaching your goals and increasing your impact, and you can't even quantify it. You'll never know when you get to the magic tipping point so you can unleash and start running for your goals. And not only is it not quantifiable, it's unsolvable because you cannot gain confidence without the doing. You're telling yourself the reason that you're not doing is the lack of confidence which holds you back from the only path that actually facilitates you getting it. So there it is, friends. There's the insight bomb for today. If you want more confidence, start doing more in your business. Start doing what's most uncomfortable.